What would you do if you paid off someone's $680,000 mortgage, only for them to turn around and hand the house to someone else? Sounds impossible, right? Sounds like something no parent would ever do. But that's exactly the moment I found myself standing in, caught between disbelief and a kind of betrayal I didn't even know how to name. It started on an ordinary Tuesday. I had come by my parents' house to drop off some paperwork, nothing dramatic. The place looked peaceful, sunlight across the porch, my mom watering her plants, my dad sipping his coffee like the world was perfectly balanced. And for a moment, I let myself believe everything was fine. But then my dad called me into the kitchen. He had that serious, rehearsed tone, the one he only used when the news was bad, but somehow still my fault. Jason, my 27-year-old brother, leaned against the counter with a grin that didn't match the mood. And my uncle Marcus? He looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. My heart sank. I could feel something shifting in the room. Because deep down, I knew they were about to tell me something awful. I just didn't know how awful. Have you ever been blindsided by someone thanking you and betraying you in the same breath? That's exactly what happened when my father finally spoke. He cleared his throat, folded his hands, and said, "Lila, we know you paid off the entire $780,000 mortgage." My stomach tightened. He'd never acknowledged it before, not once. No thank you. No recognition. Just silence. So hearing him admit it out loud? It almost felt like a miracle. Almost. Because then he kept talking. But he continued, smiling like he was announcing something joyful. "Your mother and I have decided that we're gifting the house to Jason as his graduation present." Graduation present. A whole fully paid off house. A house I spent years of my life working to save. I turned to Jason. He wasn't shocked. He wasn't confused. He wasn't even pretending to be humble. He was smirking like he'd known this decision long before I walked into the room. My mother nodded enthusiastically, adding, "He deserves a strong start in life." A strong start? What about my start? What about the years I sacrificed to keep them afloat? The room suddenly felt too small, too quiet, too unreal. And just when I thought the disrespect had reached its peak, my father opened his mouth again. And what he said next made everything inside me go cold. Have you ever heard something so outrageous that your brain refuses to process it for a moment? Because that's exactly what happened when my father continued, completely unfazed by the shock on my face. "Oh, and one more thing," he added casually, like he was discussing the weather. "You're not invited to Jason's graduation party. We don't want tension." Tension. That was the word he chose. Not disrespect. Not betrayal. Not the fact that they were handing over the house I paid for. No, the problem was me. My presence. My reaction. My mother chimed in with a sympathetic tone so fake it was almost comedic. "It's better this way, sweetie. We want the evening to be positive." Positive for whom? Jason didn't even pretend to hide his grin this time. And the worst part? They genuinely expected me to accept it. They thought I'd nod, smile, and walk away like the obedient daughter who always cleaned up their messes. But I didn't say anything. Because out of the corner of my eye, I saw my uncle Marcus shift uncomfortably. He avoided my gaze. His jaw tightened. His foot tapped. He was nervous. And Marcus never got nervous. In that moment, I realized something. There was more to this story, something my parents didn't know. I slowly turned to him and asked, "You want to tell them, or should I?" But what came next over the next 3 days would change everything, and no one saw it coming. Have you ever watched Karma walk straight into a room wearing heels? Because 3 days later, that's exactly what it looked like. Jason's graduation party was massive. Balloons, banners, catered food, the kind of event my parents had never thrown for me. People were laughing, taking pictures, congratulating him like he'd cured a disease instead of finishing a degree he barely passed. I stood outside the venue, unseen, unnoticed. I hadn't been invited. But I didn't need to be inside to know what was coming. Because I knew something they didn't. Marcus had finally told me the truth. My name was the only legal name attached to the house. Not my parents'. Not Jason's. Mine. When I paid off the mortgage, the bank required ownership clarity, and my parents unknowingly signed everything over to me. They thought they were gifting Jason a house, but they didn't own a single brick of it. And then the moment hit. A woman in a navy blazer, Ms. Torres from the bank, arrived holding a folder. She walked straight into the middle of the party, directly to my father. "Mr. Hayes," she said calmly, "I'm here regarding the attempted property transfer. We can't complete it without the homeowner's signature." My father frowned. "Well, I'm the homeowner." She shook her head. "No, sir. Legally, your daughter Lila is." The entire room froze, and Jason's smile evaporated. But Uncle Marcus wasn't done. He stepped forward with the final truth they never expected. Have you ever watched an entire crowd turn toward one person? Not out of admiration, but out of shock? That's exactly what happened when Uncle Marcus stepped up beside Ms. Torres, cleared his throat, and said the words my parents never imagined they'd hear. "She's right. The house belongs to Lila." You could have dropped a pin and heard it echo. My father's face went gray. My mother's hands started trembling. Jason, the newly crowned homeowner in his head, looked like someone had pulled the floor out from underneath him. Marcus continued, his voice steady, almost surgical. "Lila didn't just help you. She saved you. Twice. She paid the overdue mortgage, the penalty interest, the foreclosure freezes. She kept the house standing when you couldn't." Whispers spread through the guests. People looked from me, standing outside the doorway, to my parents like they were seeing the truth for the first time. "And she did it quietly," Marcus added, "because she actually cares about this family. Even when the family didn't care about her." My father tried to speak, but nothing came out. My mother covered her mouth, stunned. Jason muttered, "This can't be happening," as if someone had stolen his prize. But the room didn't feel sorry for him. It felt sorry for me. And when Ms. Torres said, "Only Lila can decide what happens to the house now," every eye turned toward me. They expected anger. They expected revenge. But what I said next shocked everyone even more. I stepped fully into the room then, and every whisper fell silent. My parents stared at me like I was a stranger walking into their lives for the first time. Maybe in a way I was. My father finally managed to say, "Lila, we didn't know. That was the problem." They never knew, because they never asked. I took a breath, calm and steady. I paid the mortgage to save our family home. I did it because I thought it mattered to all of us. But you made it clear it only mattered when Jason was involved. My mother wiped her eyes. Jason stared at the ground. "But I'm done," I said gently. "No anger. No theatrics. Just truth. I'm selling the house." Gasps erupted across the room. My parents looked shattered. Jason looked like his entire future had been rewritten. But for the first time in my life, I felt free. "This home kept us afloat," I continued. "But it also kept me tied to people who only saw me when I was useful. I'm choosing myself now." I walked away from the party, from the expectations, from the manipulation. And as the door closed behind me, I felt lighter than I had in years. Have you ever realized the truth doesn't just set you free? Sometimes, it makes you unstoppable.